Hi everyone. This lesson is going to look at holiday time and pay as part of Leisure Unit 2. So we're now in the modern era. As always, you need to pause the video and do yourself a date, title and starter. Now for the starter, I want you all to get a bit engaged. I'd like you to, you're going to be looking at how expensive an average 1 week holiday is. I'd like you to have a bit of a guess. Think about food, travel, accommodation, and then type your prediction into the chat box. And then I'd like you just to load any sort of travel website, so TUI, First Choice, On the Beach, anything like that. Choose where to go and put in the real price of your holiday. And there will be a bonus point for whoever can find the most expensive holiday in the next 3 minutes while we're setting up our lesson. So pause the video, date, title and task, please. To kick us off, we have 4 key terms that we're going to know today. Now, some of them is pretty straightforward with what they're on about because of their name. So the Bank Holiday Act of 1871 gives 4 bank holidays. Now, a bank holiday is a day off for everyone, and it's paid. So the Bank Holiday Act was a really, really good thing because it gave people free time. And this is one of those acts you can throw into literally every other unit in leisure, because if you're thinking about sport, maybe because of bank holidays you might go and watch a sporting event. With theatre, maybe because of bank holidays you can go and watch a play. So it's one of those crucial ones. If you remember, you can use it pretty much anywhere. Then you've got the Banking and Financial Dealings Act of 1971, which is pretty boring title, but it sets out bank holidays for modern day England. So we now have 7. You have the Holidays with Pay Act of 1938, which gives workers the right to 1 week paid holiday a year. That is then increased to 4 weeks paid leave in the 90s, but originally it's just 1 week. And then you've got working time regulations. So to regulate is to set. So it's a limit of 48 hours of work a week. And overtime workers can opt out of their annual paid leave of 5.6 weeks a year. So effectively just sets employment law. So you're going to want to pause the video and get down those key terms. The first and third ones are probably the ones you're going to want to commit to memory immediately. So the Bank Holiday Act and the Holidays with Pay Act. Again, if you can remember the word, you can remember what they do. Nice and easy. So that means today, right now, full-time workers are legally entitled to 5.6 worth of paid holiday per year, which is known as statutory leave. Statutory just means compulsory, so it's nice and straightforward. Right then, we're going to go straight into looking at some information here from your leisure textbook. There are 5 questions on the screen. I would be aware that I have deliberately left bigger gaps than others for some of them, so you might just want to be aware of that. So you're going to need to pause this video and get down those questions, leaving a couple of lines to answer. So you can use this information to fill in your questions. As real wages began to increase in the latter half of the 19th century, friendly societies and holiday clubs encouraged workers to save towards holidays. Now, real wages is about your wage versus the cost of living. So an increase in real wages is good because it means you have more disposable income, more money. Wakes weeks and going off clubs were popular up until the mid-20th century. Now, originally religious celebrations Wakes weeks developed into secular or non-religious holidays and were particularly popular in the north of England. They began as unpaid holidays when factories, mills and collieries, where coal is mined, closed down for maintenance. So they basically shut the factories for a week to fix them, and that kind of forced everyone to take unpaid holiday. And in Lancashire, again up north, each town would take a different week. And so between June and September, a summer season developed with a ready supply of holiday makers to places like Blackpool and Southport. So this is the reason we have a 6-week summer holiday. It stems from these wakes weeks where factories are shut, and if one shuts, one after the other, that leaves lots of people with a lot of free time for holidays. Additional paid leave was usually only granted to managers and supervisors in factories, although some businesses began to grant workers holidays with pay after the First World War. So they start to realise that happy workers are better workers. But it wasn't until the Trades Union Congress began a campaign in 1911 for a paid holiday for all workers. So if you remember, a union looks after the rights of workers. And in 1938, they managed to pass the Holidays with Pay Act that gave workers 1 week's paid holiday. By the 1950s, many workers were receiving 2 weeks of paid holiday as a result of the collective bargaining or arguing by the TUC. And in 1998, the Labour government implemented the EU working time regulations, which granted full-time workers 4 weeks of paid leave. So massive, massive change. So you're going to need to pause the video now and answer your questions. Feel free to rewind this bit because I do go through some answers as well. Okay, so let's go through some answers to make sure we have all got down the key information. So holidays got more popular in the 19th century because there were saving schemes to help people afford it. I would also have accepted increase in wages. Wakes weeks are the first form of non-religious holiday, and they begin as unpaid forced holiday for factory workers to clean and repair the machines. A summer season developed because each town took a different week off, which led to a space of 6 to 7 weeks where there were people with lots of free time. And the 1938 Act was good because it gave workers a week's paid holiday, but the 1998 Act was even better because it gave 4 weeks paid holiday. We're going to have a go now at practicing some exam technique and also how to use our new YouTube playlist on how to answer exam questions. So you're going to need to go to our YouTube channel, Cressex History. You're going to find the Leisure Question 2 video and you're going to watch it. There's no need to do the questions, but just watch it to understand what is in a question 2. Okay, so now you've had a look at how to do a question 2, you're going to have a go at putting it into practice. So we have a question here, which source is more reliable to a historian studying the reasons why people went on the Grand Tour for 6 marks? You've got source A on the left and source B on the right. You need to analyse the sources through content, context and authorship. And then you must come to a final judgment, which is more reliable and why. On the next slide is a mark scheme. You're going to need to self-thir it. That means giving yourself a strength, an improvement, and a response. And then we'll follow a model answer to help you with your response. So pause the video and try this question.
Source talks about how it is expected that a man should see the sights on the Grand Tour. The Grand Tour was a way to finish a rich young man's education and involved touring ancient sites such as Pompeii and the Vatican in Rome. At the time, it would indeed have been an expectation that a certain class of man would go. Johnson is a bear leader, someone who took the men round on these tours. As such, he is a reliable author as he saw many individuals on the grand tour. However, we do not know why he is writing this, so he could be writing to persuade people to go, as this is how he earns his money. Sorsby claims the grand tour was popular because of womanizing and drinking. While this is true of some people, there were other reasons people went on the tour, such as learning about new cultures and seeing sites of religious importance. At the time, womanizing could bring about a bad reputation in England. However, abroad it was not the case, as no one would know. This author is also reliable because they are a historian who specializes in this era. That means he has access to a lot of sources about this to make his judgment. Overall, I find source A to be more reliable to a historian. While B has the benefits of research, it also misses out other reasons the grand tour appeals, like comradeship and education. Source A is also a primary source from someone who experienced it, so even if he is trying to sell his services, that is actually an advantage to the source because he would want to appeal to as many people as possible.